Good morning, afternoon, everybody. This is Ian, and thank you so much for tuning in today. Today, we're going to talk about some models of effective listening in conversation, as well as some elements of assertive communication. To start things off with a little bit of a quote, there is a difference between listening and waiting for your turn to speak. When I was younger, I often just thought of something in my head. Oh, this is a really good idea. I should wait until the other person is finished speaking, and then I should say that idea. But what I soon realized was as I kept this idea locked in my head, I wasn't listening to anything that the other person said. So even the thing that I wanted to say no longer made sense in the conversation. So I think it's very, very important to realize that there is a difference between listening and waiting for your turn to speak. So the first listening model that I want to talk about, I adapted from this woman's book, Celeste Headley, which is called We Need to Talk. And I've adapted her ideas to what I call listening cues. There are two types of listening cues, as Headley explains: external and internal. When we think about external cues, these are cues that we can observe in other people. What do other people do to signal that they are listening? A lot of people talk about things like eye contact or back channeling. Back channeling is whenever people give things like head nods or some kind of verbal or nonverbal confirmation that a person is listening. So saying things like, oh, yeah, uh huh, oh, really? Back channeling. Back channeling, along with eye contact, are often cited as common examples of what indicates good listening. However, Headley argues quite persuasively that if we're too focused on trying to show these cues to other people, what we're not doing is truly focusing on what the other person is saying. All we're doing is giving signals of listening. It doesn't mean that we actually are listening. So, Headley talks about what I call internal cues of listening. What are some things that you can do to yourself? What are some things that you can think about to help cue you in to what another person is saying? First internal cue: what is being said? What is the other person talking about? Who, what, when, where, why? Is this somebody trying to give me information? Is this somebody telling a story? Is this somebody venting? What is the purpose of what they are telling me, and what is the content? Number two, what is the underlying emotion? Is there a disconnect between whether someone is speaking a sad message in a happy tone or a happy message in a sad tone? What is the relationship between the emotions that someone is showing and the message that they are saying? For example, oh, my day is going really well. Man, isn't this just like the worst day ever? I can't even believe how terrible everything is. When these kinds of disconnects arrive, focus on that. That is a good indication of your listening, and it's something that you can ask about moving forward because usually, if there's a disconnect between somebody's emotions and somebody's words, there's something that they're not telling you, something that might be worth exploring. And finally, one of the easiest listening cues I find to focus on and what I find super effective is what questions do I have? As I'm listening to someone tell a story or explain a concept, what understanding do I need in order to really put all the pieces together? What background knowledge do I need? What holes need to be filled? What gaps need to be recognized? So, thinking about what questions you have when somebody is speaking to you can really help you focus on what they're saying and become a much stronger listener. In addition to this model that I just outlined by Celeste Headley, Let's go over a different model, which is explained by a lot of different people, but in this case, I will just call it active listening. When we're listening actively, it's very important to face the speaker, not necessarily with your body, but definitely with your eyes. But again, this is an external cue of listening. So also make sure you're listening for what questions somebody might have or what their emotional state is compared to their words. Number two, focus on the message. What is this person saying? Give them your undivided attention. One thing that charisma researchers will talk about is the absolutely entrancing art of not interrupting people. If you can really listen to what someone else says without interrupting them, it can be powerful. So it's so important when you're actively listening to just wait for the speaker to finish. Allow them to say what they need to say, and then you can respond with whatever questions that you may have. It can also pay to paraphrase. So, what you're saying is that we should buy more locally sourced foods because it's better for the environment. Ah, so what you're saying is that I should come to work on time because if I don't, it disrupts other activities in the office. After you paraphrase, check further understanding. Did I hear that about right? Am I getting that right? Is that about what you are saying? It really helps the person you're talking to feel heard and valued if you take the time to paraphrase the words that they are saying and check to make sure that you're understanding correctly. It can go so far to building a strong rapport and trust with your conversational partner. And finally, after you've gone through all of these steps and you've really listened to what a person has to say and you have paraphrased and you are sure that you understand their message, then it's time to respond. So that's active listening. Another researcher, Julian Treasure, speaks about it in a little bit different terms, but with very similar processes and results. He calls his model RASA, RASA. It's an acronym. So R stands for receive. Take the time to really focus and to receive what the other person is saying. Give them your full attention. Really focus on the message. A, appreciate. Say thank you. Someone took the time to give you a message. Someone took the time to communicate with you. Express your appreciation. Oh, you know what? Thank you. Thank you for sharing that with me. Oh, well, I definitely appreciate your perspective. You don't always have to agree, but at least appreciate the fact that they are taking the time to reach out. After that, we have S, summarize. Let me ask you, in the active listening model, what step does summarize connect with? Yeah, paraphrase. Summarize the other person's words so that way you can make sure that you understand what they are saying. And finally, ask. Questions can be really powerful to building strong rapport with the person that you are speaking to. Goes back to what Celeste Headley says about what questions do I have? Continue to seek clarification, continue to seek understanding. Not only will it help you understand what the other person is trying to say, by kind of asking the other person to explain a little bit deeper, you could also deepen their understanding. Maybe they have something that they could improve their thinking about that they don't even realize because nobody has pushed them through questions to really dig deep and to explain what is going on. So, rasa, receive, appreciate, summarize, ask. One final tip. This one comes from a listening expert named Oscar Trimboli. It really helps to just slow your breath. When you slow your breath, it helps calm your mind, bring you back into the present moment. And when your mind is calmer and you are more in the present moment, it is far easier to focus on a person's message and to think of questions to ask and to really focus on their emotional state and how it matches up with their words. So, slow your breath, improve your focus, be present. If we can listen really, really well, it makes it a lot easier for us whenever we encounter difficulties with friends or coworkers or other people in the world. And it will help us develop our assertive communication skills. Some people also refer to this as perceptual language. Perceptual language is defined as somebody talking about what they perceive rather than asserting what is. So you're sharing your own point of view rather than judging someone else's point of view. So it can be very good for conflict resolution. For example, I feel like you're not listening to me right now. It seems like the house is dirty. It sounds like you're having a difficult time coming to class on time. We have two friends here. Loo, 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 loo. You are unhappy. How do you think that this person is going to respond to this kind of statement? Yeah, no one likes to be told exactly what they are feeling. Let's try a different example. It sounds like you are unhappy. Now, he's not judging what the other person is feeling. He's not telling him how things are. He's just sharing what he sees from his perspective. Oh, I'm sorry. It's not you. I got some stuff going on at home. When you share things from your own point of view, the other person doesn't feel as judged or as ignored, really. When you're sharing your own point of view, you make it sound like the other person is really being heard. Let's try this other example. A man's approaching a group of friends and he says, "Hey, you are excluding me." How are they going to respond to a statement like this? Yeah, exactly. But if he walks up and he says, "It seems like I'm being excluded. Sorry about that. Would you like to join us?" Again, he's sharing things from his own point of view. You can't judge somebody from sharing their thoughts and their feelings from their own point of view. So, this kind of assertive communication helps summarize the difference between I statements and you statements. While I statements are better for problem solving and they emphasize others' impact on us and promote solutions, you statements tend to invite feelings of defensiveness. They emphasize blame, this is your fault, or it promotes argument. No, I don't see it that way. You're wrong. This brings us to a great method for working through our interpersonal differences and conflicts, which is the I statement. Let's give a brief example. A friend always cancels plans at the last minute. Recently, you were waiting for them at a restaurant when they called to say they couldn't make it. Now, pause the video. Think of an I statement that you could use here. I feel blah blah when blah blah because blah blah. I would appreciate it if blah blah. Pause the video. Think of a response. All right, welcome back. Let's see my own I statement in this situation. I feel upset when you cancel plans at the last minute because I feel like you don't value me as a friend. I would appreciate if you texted me in advance when you need to cancel plans. So I'm sharing how the problem makes me feel, what impact it has on me, and some solution that could help improve a relationship in the future. This is a good example of an I statement.